Are you one of 23 million Americans that has an immune system attacking healthy cells in your body by mistake? That's right. 23 out of 330 million Americans, or 14% of Americans' immune systems, are going rogue. Welcome to the age of autoimmune. Well, this is an epidemic that is not getting proper media coverage. You may be living with an autoimmune disorder, but not even realize that it is an autoimmune disorder. So, according to the Autoimmune Registry, the top 5 most common autoimmune diseases are rheumatoid arthritis, Hashimoto's autoimmune thyroiditis, celiac disease, Graves' disease, and type 1 diabetes. 2 of those are thyroids. When you have one autoimmune disease, you are very likely to develop others. And let me say that again, because we need to really resonate with that. And it's something that is very commonly known in the medical model, that when you have known, you have been tested, and you know that you indeed have an autoimmune disease, there are different ones that are likely to develop. Once your immune system is taxed, you could start really developing other ones. For example, maybe you know that you have celiac. Well, something that may start developing next is maybe you have alopecia, which is among the top 10 autoimmune disease, which is where your hair starts to fall out in different patches in your head, alopecia areata. Or maybe you start developing ulcerative colitis in your digestive tract, which is another autoimmune disorder. So there are many things that when you have one, it can develop into something else. How do you test for an autoimmune disease? How would you know if you have it, right? So when you think about this, the modern Western way of thinking it is I need to run an antibody test to see if I have that autoimmune disease. And that's right, but sometimes we just don't know what's going on. We know something's going on with your immune system, something's going on with your body, but we don't know what it is. So this is the best way that I have found to assess it with my patients using functional medicine. And the first step is to assess leaky gut permeability or intestinal permeability, right? It's the worse, the worse it is, the more likely you are to develop an autoimmune disease. We do assessing leaky gut permeability through different types of testing, through stool testing, through blood testing. It'll tell us different markers that we can actually test to see how bad is that permeability in that digestive tract. When those walls start breaking down, things start seeping in, your immune system starts freaking out, and we need to cut that out. So we got to assess for leaky gut permeability. The next thing that I would do for testing is we need to think about and assess food peptides. So the more food peptide sensitivities that you have, the more likely you are to have an autoimmune disease. Let's talk about that for a minute. So food peptides, well, when you think about a whole food, you might have heard of food sensitivity testing out there, very popular to do all over the place. Well, most of the time they're going to use an IgG or an immunoglobulin type of test to see if your immune system is reacting to a whole food protein structure. It's a structure. It's a clump of things together. Or if your immune system sees that clump of things together and has this immune response, it's going to show positive on a test. And now you know, okay, I can't eat that certain food. However, there are these whole clumps of foods that actually can be broken down into little bitty bits that make up that clump. Those little bitty bits are called peptides, and we can actually test those peptides in more extensive food sensitivity testing that is the state-of-the-art testing on food sensitivity. So let's assess all those little bitty bits of foods when you break it down to see if your immune system is reacting to one of those. If you have reaction to certain things, like for example, you take dairy, you break it down into all the different proteins that make up cow dairy, cow milk that you have. The more you are to have a reaction to it, the more leaky gut you have. So looking at food sensitivity is a big deal. The more you have it, the more reacting you're most likely might have an autoimmune disease. They're not fully diagnostic, but they give us clues, and that's what we are with being detectives. The third way to test for an autoimmune disease is to really look at those antibodies. All right, start with the thyroid. That's what I do in my onboarding patients is we got to look at the thyroid, or maybe you already know you have one. Maybe you know you have some things that need to be looked at with that. You'll know either yes or no with those thyroid antibodies. So that's the third one. The fourth thing that we need to test for is we need to recheck. If you have positive antibodies with anything that you have found positive, you got to recheck them. And we'll make sure that those antibody levels go down. Are they going to go completely away with treatment, whether it's lifestyle, whether it's diet, nutritional support? Are they going to go completely away with what you're working with? Most likely not. Okay, we can't cure autoimmune diseases, but we can support them. And so when we recheck positive antibodies, we want to make sure that that load is going down and they're not being constantly stimulated. So, do you struggle with an autoimmune disease? I would love to hear your story. Comment below. I'd love to hear it. And if you want to dig in more into how I support autoimmune diseases, check out my free mini course on my website or join my Facebook group, Keto, Fasting, and Functional Medicine. This is Dr. Emily with Enlightened Functional Medicine. Be a light to the world, love others, and invest in yourself.